Did Jesus really tell us to go to church? It's a question that quietly sits in the back of many minds, especially in a world where church attendance is dropping. Yet people still claim deep faith. Every Sunday, millions gather under crosses and steeples, believing they're doing exactly what Jesus wanted. But if you open the Gospels and look carefully, you'll notice something curious. Jesus never once commanded anyone to go to church. He didn't tell people to sit in pews, follow a service schedule, or attend weekly programs. What he did talk about was something far more powerful and far more personal. In his time, there were temples and synagogues, yes, but Jesus didn't spend his ministry building structures. He built people. He said, "Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am with them." That wasn't a blueprint for a building. It was a revelation of presence. Jesus wasn't pointing people toward an institution. He was pointing them toward connection, to God and to one another. The early followers of Christ understood that deeply. They met in homes, broke bread, prayed, shared what they had, and lived in unity. There was no stage, no spotlight, no division between clergy and members. It was raw, real fellowship. That was the church Jesus envisioned. The body, not the building. So how did church become what it is today? Somewhere along the line, what began as a movement became an organization. What started around shared meals and open hearts became something measured by attendance and budgets. Many go to church now not because they long to commune with others, but because they feel they have to, like it's a religious duty rather than a spiritual desire. Yet Jesus constantly pushed against that kind of obligation. He didn't want religion without relationship. He wanted hearts that loved God and loved people, not routines that simply looked holy. When Jesus spoke to the woman at the well, she brought up the great debate of her day, where to worship. Her people said Mount Gerizim. The Jews said Jerusalem. But Jesus cut through both arguments and said, "A time is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. True worshipers will worship in spirit and truth." With that, he shifted the entire idea of worship from a place to a presence. Worship wasn't about location, it was about the condition of the heart. So no, Jesus didn't tell us to go to church, but he did tell us to be the church, to live in unity, to serve, to encourage, to forgive, to love one another as he loved us. That was his command. The irony is, if every believer lived like that, the modern church wouldn't struggle to fill its seats. It would overflow naturally. Because people wouldn't be chasing programs. They'd be drawn to genuine love. Of course, that doesn't mean gathering together is wrong. In fact, community is vital. Hebrews 10:25 reminds us not to neglect meeting together, because fellowship strengthens faith. But that verse isn't about mandatory attendance, it's about mutual encouragement. It's about coming together not out of obligation, but out of shared purpose. The problem isn't that people go to church. It's that too often, the church forgets why it exists in the first place. When Jesus walked the earth, his church looked like dinner tables, fishing boats, dusty roads, and open hillsides. He met people where they were, broken, rejected, searching, and turned those encounters into holy ground. If he were here today, maybe he'd still do the same. Maybe his church would be found in coffee shops, shelters, hospitals, and prisons, anywhere people need hope. Because the church was never supposed to be confined to a building. It was meant to move. So when we ask, did Jesus tell us to go to church? Maybe the better question is, are we living as the church he died for? Because he wasn't after attendance, he was after transformation. He wasn't trying to fill pews, he was trying to fill hearts. The early believers turned the world upside down, not because they had grand cathedrals, but because they carried Christ wherever they went. The church Jesus envisioned wasn't a place you go to once a week. It was a life you live every day. It was his spirit alive in people, his love breaking boundaries, his truth lighting the darkest corners. So maybe the real challenge isn't whether you show up at church on Sunday, but whether the presence of Christ shows up in you every day after.